Okay, this is a Magic the Gathering deck tech. If you watch my videos usually for the game reviews, don't worry, there'll be one next time. But for now I thought I would try something different and talk to you about one of my favorite Magic the Gathering decks. This is Mono White Slivers for the Commander format. You might be wondering why I would choose Mono White Slivers. It's a very unusual direction to take Slivers in. But I think I reached this point that a lot of people reach in deck building for EDH, where maybe you start off building for power. You start off building to take your favorite commander and see how far you can push it. But then you get used to games sort of playing out really similarly. You play your deck 10, 20 times and the play lines are really, really linear. You start looking for ways to spice things up. I think that's when people start looking at alternative, or we might say hipster builds. And this is my attempt at that. So I took a tribe, which is usually 5 colors, slivers, and I looked at which color had the most slivers. I think it was basically a tie between red and white, and I'm more partial to mono white. So I went with white. We'll talk about the commander later because honestly the commander of the deck wasn't too important to me, and it took me a while to find one that really fit the theme. So here are the slivers that I've been able to find in mono white. I've got Sinew Sliver, Poultice Sliver, Lymph Sliver, Pulmonic Sliver, Watcher Sliver, Sidewinder Sliver, First Sliver's Chosen, Banding Sliver, not actually legal in the format, but shut up. Enduring Sliver, Lancer Sliver, Plated Sliver, Ward Sliver, Ventus Sliver, Steelform Sliver, Sliver Construct, and Bone Scythe Sliver. Plus we have a couple of other interesting pieces like Sliver Smith, which will make Sliver tokens, and Hive Stirrings, which is a one-time sorcery that does the same. Then I'm also running a number of token generators that make creatures that aren't slivers, like Call the Coppercoats and Rabble Rousing, and these are just generic ways to put lots of little creatures on the board. And then hopefully I can slam down something like Hivestone or Maskwood Nexus, and then turn all of those little tokens into slivers, which are getting benefits from all of the other slivers we have on the board. And then you're winning usually with like a critical mass combat type thing. There's a number of really useful changelings in this color as well. Universal Automaton is a great turn 1 play, Changeling Hero, Irregular Cohort, Imposter at the 6th Pride, but probably the best one is Mirror Entity because it has this wonderful activated ability that lets us turn all of our creatures into slivers. I have a number of other creatures that aren't slivers, as well as just, a removal package, things like that. I've got lots of little rinky-dink creatures like Thraben Inspector, Lion Sash, Oreskos Explorer, stuff that is just designed to trigger Mentor at the Make and to kind of smooth out our curve. The card draw package in this deck is surprisingly versatile. We've got things like Skull Clamp and Welcoming Vampire. And honestly, it just keeps getting better and better. I think that this deck has performed much better than I thought it would, which is interesting because I don't think I've taken it as far as it can go. For instance, there are lots of great utility lands in white, like Iganjo, Seat of the Empire, things like that. But I've mostly kept this deck to basic planes. I have a couple of lands for utility, like the modal double face cards from Zendikar Rising. I have all at the white from that cycle in here, as well as Ghost Quarter, which is just a generic good card. But that's sort of seen me right. I haven't needed to upgrade the land package. I think that if you wanted to build this deck and you wanted to see how far you could push the power within this sort of janky shell, there's a lot of room to wiggle. But I've actually been really happy just playing this deck as is. It's very inconsistent, and that might not sound like a good thing, but I think it's exactly what I was going for. It's a deck that I can bring to a table and I'm not sure what's going to happen. If I bring one of my other decks to the table, I know that I built that deck reliably. My Omnath Locus with the Royal deck is going to be drawing a lot of cards and playing a lot of lands. Whereas with this deck, it's kind of hard to know when and how you'll pop off, so to speak. I have these sort of big finisher cards like Hivestone and Maskwood Nexus, but it's very rare for me to get to them because I'm not running any artifact tutors. So I think this has become a really great option for me at sort of mid power level tables. Probably even mid to high, I would feel comfortable bringing this out. Maybe not winning, but comfortable bringing it out and having fun at the table. Now, for Commander, I ended up choosing Lena Selfless Champion from Core 19. This is a 6 mana Human Knight. It's a 3/3. When it comes in, it creates 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you control. And you can sacrifice her in order to give all of the creatures that are smaller than her indestructible until end of turn. I chose this one because it's a great way to put a token generator in the command zone. And I also chose it because it's not very popular. It's very affordable. And I think when people see it in the command zone, they don't quite know what to expect. And that's probably the best way there is to play the meta that I've found, is just to play things that surprise people so they don't know how to assess your board. Anyway, there it is. Mono White Slivers. I've had this deck for maybe 3 months. I've been really pleased with how it's turned out. There's a great number of slivers in mono white. There's a great number of changelings, token generators. There's lots of kind of abilities that we can get to proc off of generating tokens. And I think mono white is just getting better and better by the day. This deck is much better than I thought it would be. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this EDH deck tech, and next time we will be looking at some stupid video game or other. Probably going to be Xenoclash. I've been having a lot of fun playing that recently, and I would love to talk about it. In the meantime, be sure to let me know what you thought of this video, if I should do more Magic the Gathering deck techs, and I'll see you next time.